As global attention remains fixed on the Middle East, the Caribbean nation of Cuba finds itself navigating a crisis remarkably similar to that of Iran. Recent developments indicate that the United States has intensified its energy blockade against Cuba, creating a precarious situation for the island nation. Historically, Cuba relied heavily on Venezuela for its energy needs and economic stability. However, as that support dwindled, Mexico stepped in as a primary supplier. Under recent pressure from Washington, Mexico has signaled a halt to its oil shipments, leaving Cuba in a dire state where power outages now average 8 hours per day across the country. This energy vacuum poses a fundamental threat to a nation where the service sector accounts for nearly 3/4 of the gross domestic product. While Cuba has officially reported modest economic growth of 1% for the previous year, international financial organizations and research institutions from Canada and Europe suggest a much bleaker reality, estimating an economic contraction of over 1%. Over the last 5 years, the cumulative decline in the Cuban economy is estimated at 10%, despite domestic reports of continuous progress. Inflation also remains a persistent challenge, hovering around 14%. The humanitarian impact is reflected in migration patterns. Out of a population of approximately 11 million people, nearly 4 million Cubans live abroad, with about 1.5 million residing in the United States. This represents a displacement rate of nearly 30%, surpassing even the significant migration seen in Venezuela. The historical friction between the United States and Cuba dates back to the 1959 revolution and the subsequent nationalization of American assets without compensation. While the United States has maintained a military presence at Guantanamo Bay, it has historically avoided large-scale intervention due to the high costs and low economic returns of such an endeavor. However, the current American administration's approach to Venezuela has set a new precedent for low-cost political change, and prominent officials with Cuban heritage are now prioritizing the Cuban issue. Interestingly, European interests, particularly those of France, have long served as a buffer against aggressive American policies. French conglomerates own half of the Havana cigar industry and manage its global distribution, pairing the luxury product with French wines. This economic partnership has created a powerful lobby that traditionally protected Cuban interests. Now, as energy supplies are cut and civil unrest becomes a possibility, the future of the island remains uncertain. Meanwhile, international contributors like China continue to focus on civilian infrastructure, such as solar power and telecommunications, maintaining that economic stability is the most effective path toward long-term peace.